Be happy not because everything is good, but because you can see the good in everything. A very good afternoon to one and all present here. We take immense pleasure in welcoming you all for Oikos Club inaugural for the year 2020-21.
A day without prayer is a day without blessing, and a life without prayer is a life without power. Prayer by Irene Kessia of 3rd UG.
Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good, his love endures forever. Psalm 136 1. Shall we bow our heads for prayer? Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this time of gathering. In these days of uncertainty, thank you, Lord, for keeping all of us safe. Though we miss one another, thank you for giving us an opportunity to gather for our club inaugural through this online platform. Bless this session, Master. I pray for all the students, the head of our department, and the faculty members. Bless the resource person. Help us to listen carefully and make use of the ideas we learned from today's session in our lives. I commit the entire session into your mighty hands. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Welcoming is a tradition of our country. May I now request Dr. A.P.A. Rani, Associate Professor and also our club convener, to welcome the gathering.
On behalf of the Department of Zoology and Oikos Club, I take it as a pleasure to welcome each and everyone for this program. I welcome Dr. Priyadarshini Rajendran, Head of the Department, and other faculty members, guest of honor Dr. Shanta Muller, and student friends. Hope you get benefited from the talk that you're going to have today and also by the different programs that we're going to arrange this year. I once again welcome each and everyone for the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Rani ma'am. May I now invite Dr. Priya Rajendran, a beloved head of the department, to give the inaugural address.
So good afternoon, friends. It's my pleasure and privilege to address you today afternoon in the midst of this pandemic, we are very thankful to God for giving us this opportunity to connect with each other, at least virtually, though we are not able to physically see each other and share our happiness on this day. So I'm very happy to welcome amidst us Dr. Shanta Muller. So ma'am was, though I didn't study under her directly, she joined when I was a student in the PG class. And then when I came back to teach, we both were colleagues. I was one of the youngest in the department then. And ma'am, of course, went to different countries and she contributed a lot to the development of science and research. And I'm very happy that we got this opportunity to have her here today in this program. So welcome you once again, ma'am, on behalf of the Department of Zoology. And because it's an inaugural address, just share a small thought about this club, because we have our first UG students and first PG students with us today. This club, as it was mentioned earlier, even during your orientation, is a place where you can grow. And very frequently, you will be able to see the logo in most of our programs organized by the club. And that says, learn and inquire. Okay, so even in the invitation that was sent to you, the logo is put up on the right corner of your invitation. So it says learn and inquire. And under that, there are 4 pictures given. One is that of one of a peacock, and another is of a lamp that is lit, and the next one is a nest of a weaver bird. So for the four, they have given the title as one is curiosity. So to learn and inquire, you need to have curiosity. You should have the ability to display, just like a peacock displays its beautiful feathers. And you should seek knowledge, like light. When you have the knowledge, you can spread it out all over the place wherever you are. So spreading out of knowledge. And the method is just like how beautifully a weaver bird builds its nest. I think many of you would have seen Tukunagurvin Solvala, and how beautifully it weaves its nest so that it can bring forth its young ones in the nest safely. So the method, it may be a complex one, but we learn and develop these things in the club. So I hope and wish the club programs that we are going to have, maybe even for a few months will be online, but still I'm very sure the club convener and the club office bearers will be arranging for various programs to encourage you to participate in competitions and other things, but still you will also have to learn and inquire. That is the motto of this club. And I wish all of you to follow these things so that this club achieves its goal in making you all curious, have the ability to display, spread knowledge, and understand the method by which you can be better people to serve the society. So I'm sure Dr. Shanta ma'am is one such example, because she is a very, very creative person. She's not only an excellent teacher, she's a beautiful a person who does everything very beautifully, be it her paintings, her interior decoration, her flower arrangements, her garden. Like, so I think most of it, the seeds were sown at Lady Doe College. She wouldn't say no if I say this. And she was also instrumental in sowing the seeds to her students. So many have admired her for her ability to do such things. And I'm very happy that we could have a very apt person today for our inauguration. So with these few words, I hand over the session back to the club organizers. Thank you. And welcome you once again.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. The time has to start. May I now invite Dr. Rani to welcome our guest of honor.
Thank you. So I am indeed honored to introduce our guest of honor. So a small presentation. So our guest of honor today is Dr. Shanta Muller. So she is an alumna of Lady Doe College. She has completed her graduation in zoology and later served as faculty of zoology for 15 years. When I joined first in the department in 1999, it was she who welcomed me first into the department. She received a PhD on medical immunology from MK University in 1996. Coming to her as a scientist focusing on viral pathology, she has carried out vaccine trials and diagnosis for treatment of viral diseases like HIV, SIV, smallpox at University of Wisconsin and University of California, USA. And this work has been extended to MGR Medical University, where she has set up an HIV diagnostic center through which many people have benefited. At Fiji Islands, she was involved in research and teaching at University of Fiji, Fiji National University, Fiji Islands as Director of Medical Research Center and Professor at the School of Health Sciences, College of Medicine, Nursing and Health Sciences, focusing on traditional medicines for viral diseases. Currently, now she is acting as Director, Research Foundation for Traditional Medicines in Madurai, India, with the theme Rewinding the Healthcare to Traditional and Alternative Medicines for COVID, Diabetes, and other diseases. The research focuses on novel approach for the treatment of dengue and other viral diseases using locally available traditional and herbal medicines. For today, our talk to enlighten us is on COVID-19 and traditional medicines, myths and facts. Thank you. And now I hand over the session to Dr. Shanta Muller.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Priya and Dr. Rani and other staff. I think a very good afternoon to you all. And also welcome to the OICAS Club students, especially the first years. And I hope this is not your nap time. I was wondering 2:30 to 3:30 will be a nap time for most of you. Can you all hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes. So I was wondering, I should make my speech very short and, interesting so you don't go. Usually that's what we do, isn't it, in the classroom, especially the afternoon classes, we tend to sleep. So anyhow, so thank you for the warm-up. I'm so excited and doing my, presentation today with through the Google Meet. I think the technology has gone up. I still remember my student time when I joined Lady Doc, the chalkboard. The teachers, they stand and drew all the drawings. Especially I remember Mrs. Rollin, Mrs. Hansraj, Miss White in all the the senior most faculty at zoology department. I still remember how they managed to draw all those beautiful, the pictures, the different systems of animals and the cycles and all that. And we also sit and draw it so patiently. Those days are fantastic. And then we started this audio visual aids, when then we started doing all these transparencies, then the PowerPoint presentation, the slide projectors, so many technology. Now I'm so amazed to see this new technology for which I'm new, and so I thanks Rani and like Priya to like brief me how to go about it. Though I have done lots of video conferencing, but this is something new. And so thank you so much for inviting me for this inaugural, club. So I'll be happy to, give you the address on COVID-19 facts and myths, especially whether the traditional medicine is going to work. And before I start my lecture, I wanted to talk about this logo, the Zoology Club logo. I don't know whether, I think none of you were here, so when I was the second year or third year student, Mrs. Rollin, one of our senior faculty, and she gave us a competition to draw the Zoology Club motto, logo. And I still remember it's in my certificate that I won the first prize. As Priya said that I'm an artist. I do like, drawing and painting. But I think that particular logo, I think they kept all the pictures, but it has been modified, computerized, I think, not the handwritten. So I'm so happy now that Lady Doc College is
very happy
in a
that
different level. Yeah. I would like to congratulate,
yeah,
all
I
the staff. I think most of you are
yes.
my.
I had mentioned, I had written
Most of,
yes, ma'am.
okay. And also, after I completed my BSc, what I did was I worked as a demonstrator at the department. There was no PG that time. So you have seen that, the long charts, the Rexin charts with all this, Krebs cycle and all those things, because the teachers find a lot of time to sit and draw on the, the board. So I did all the chart painting and drawing. I'm not sure whether still you people are seeing. I don't think so, So that's where we all grew up, like the seed was there from the Department of Zoology, Lady Doc College. And I'm standing here so proudly and so excited and, happily just because of the Department of Zoology. So this should be a motivation for all the students who belong to the Zoology Department, especially the first years, okay? Right, so thank you so much for the warm-up. And so let's go to the presentation now. And may I request someone to show me the first slide?
Is it visible, ma'am?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. So you can see on the thing that is COVID-19 and the traditional medicines, myths and facts. And so let's not go for the traditional medicines in the beginning. So let's talk about COVID-19. So how did this COVID-19 came? We all know, the story, different stories. And I think when December 31st, 2019, there was a huge pneumonia cases reported at the hospital, Wuhan, China, where I visited Wuhan in the year, I think 2013, but not the particular hospital. And so they were trying to find out whether this is a new type of viral pneumonia. And before this COVID-19, they also had two similar viral infections. One is MERS, that is Middle East Severe Syndrome, Respiratory Syndrome, and also SARS, that is acute respiratory syndrome. So these two were actually existed in China and other Asian countries from the year, I think, 2014 or 15. I still remember when I fly through those countries, I've seen people wearing face masks and sitting at the airport or in the shopping mall. I used to wonder why they are wearing face masks. Probably I thought that, they have bad pollution. So this is what I thought. This shows that China has completely ignored or hide these two types of infections going on in the country. So that's one of the drawback why the COVID-19 has accelerated this much. So that's very bad. Then only in January, some days, they informed or reported to the World Health Organization. So World Health Organization started, looking into these new viral cases, and they identified that this may be a modification of the SARS coronavirus 1. So they named it as SARS coronavirus 2, and they thought it will be an appropriate name for this virus. So that happened on February 11th, 2020. Then the World Health Organization declared it as global pandemic because from China, it started to spread to other countries, especially, the huge amount of COVID cases in America, Spain, Italy, and of course now India also, as you all know that India stands second in the world, having the most number of cases for COVID. And another, actually, the unique character for this COVID-19 or this coronavirus is it can transmit from human to human. So transmission from human to human is not that new. We know there are so many diseases like smallpox, chickenpox, measles, and so many has spread from human to human. But this is quite unique, and the virus is virulent. So what do you mean by virulent? You must have studied in pathology or microbiology class. Virulent is actually the pathological status. It is highly infectious, so it transmits. So that's why we have to worry about to stop the transmission from human to human. And so this is generally, the people call it a new virus causing pneumonia. Can we go to the next slide, please? And so how does it spread? As I told you, human to human transmission. And this COVID, it actually spreads from human to human. There are lots of contradictions, lots of speculations and gossips and rumors or stories, whether it must have come from the animals. Okay, let's forget about that. So this is actually started affecting human. I'll tell you a little story because I'm a HIV specialist. And earlier, probably 30 years ago, there was no HIV. There are no HIV. There are only SIV, that is simian immunodeficiency virus, which causes certain disease in the monkeys, especially chimpanzees. But all of a sudden, this SIV virus, that is simian immunodeficiency virus, started infecting humans, so we call human immunodeficiency virus. Till now, I have been working with HIV for the past 15, 20 years, but we still don't know the origin of HIV. How did it actually transmitted from the animals to chimpanzees to the humans? So let's not worry about the origin. So COVID-19 is actually going to be transmitted or getting transmitted from human to human. So how does it spread? And it is through the nasal droplets, especially when it is wet. So when the wet mucus or the wet, the saliva from the mouth, it actually, when the people cough or when they sneeze or when they do the spitting or talk, even during singing in the choir, right? So all these droplets, they actually transmit from one person to the another. Now, I want to introduce, there are two terms. One is the droplet, other one is aerosol. So the droplets are usually above 5 micrometers and they're quite heavy to hang in the air. So what they do is they immediately fall on the floor or any surfaces nearby, wherever the person. So suppose say I'm here, when I cough, so it will all actually deposited on the laptop and the table, right? That's called fomites. So they are heavy, so they cannot actually stand in the air. But there are other tiny particles which comes from the droplets or break into from the droplets. They're called aerosols. So we tend to actually breathe both the droplets when it is still hanging in the air before they drop attached to the surface. Or most of it, what we actually like inhale is breathe from the breathing is the aerosol. Okay, or when you touch all the surfaces, you'll get. So these are the two modes of actually the spread. Now the next slide, you can actually carefully see, because you have a laptop now and you can see the first, there are 4 pictures I have put it down. The first person, infected person, he has no face mask. Am I right? He has no face mask. And now imagine when he is coughing, right? So both the large droplets, as I told you, which is above 5 micrometer, and aerosol, which is less than 5 micrometer, both actually like migrates and then transmits to the person nearby. And the person nearby is not wearing any mask. Now you can see the amount of the droplets, the amount of aerosol, which is actually reaching the person who is not wearing a mask. Do you understand? Now the second figure, the infected person is wearing an ordinary surgical mask. I think this is what in the hospitals or medical professionals, nurses, and all the attendants, they wear the surgical mask. I think many public also they're wearing the surgical mask, which is not at all good. So now you can see. So there's another person, he is also wearing a surgical mask. Now the amount of transmission may be slightly reduced, but you can see a similar amount of the transmission from the infected person to the other person, even if you wear a surgical mask. Now the third figure shows he's wearing actually a N95 respirator. You can see now all this model, with a small, a filter or a respirator. So that is called N95 respirators. The amount of droplets or the amount of aerosol reaching from the infected person to the other person has tremendously reduced. You can see and you can compare the figure. And now the fourth one, there is actually the technology with elastometric respirators. And you can see again, once again, I don't think there is much difference, isn't it? From the third one to the fourth one. But still, actually, we are recommended to use either N95 respirator or the elastometric respirators, because it has got some special filters which can actually filter the virus to a certain extent. Okay, so this is actually probably the use of the masks. Now, not only from human to human and also from the air through droplets or aerosol, there are also other possible modes of infection. One is airborne. So people have lots of speculations whether it's airborne, something like smallpox. It's not like smallpox because they have like granules or poxes which actually spreads over in the air. But this is completely different. The airborne is usually restricted within the medical facilities, doctors or hospitals and nurses. So it can be airborne. Okay, it is not actually proved. It's still people are talking about whether it's airborne, and people have reported the transmission of COVID through airborne at the medical facility. But this airborne can also happen where the people are crowded, right? When they're crowded places, say shopping mall, theaters, shops, or churches, temples, or any markets, and especially in the choir, people sing, or restaurants. So that is the reason why we had a complete lockdown to prevent the transmission of COVID through airborne from one person to the another person, right? And as I think I mentioned earlier, fomite. Fomite is when the aerosol or the droplets, when they drop, okay, and they attach to the surfaces nearby. And people are also talking about the fecal oral during actually when you go to the toilet or when you don't wash your hands properly. So it can also transmit it from the feces. And mother to child, that's a very important mode of transmission. Say imagine a mother is pregnant or she's breastfeeding and suppose she's infected with the COVID-19, and there is a higher possibility or chances of infecting the child through the mother. And the last one is animal to human transmission is again the question people say the dogs can transmit or cats can transmit, but it has not been proved, right? So probably when the dog or cats live in a COVID-19 positive or, like the corona positive environment, probably they can have, but there is no evidences or scientific evidences to show that, animal to human transmission is possible. Maybe possible, but we are not proved it. Okay. As I mentioned, and it also depends on the size of the droplets you get infected or transmission happens, right? So what happens during this infection? So the infection of this SARS-CoV-2 primarily or initially causes some respiratory illness. Compared to MERS and SARS, this is kind of virulent or kind of a unique, or I can say a very, kind of a stingy, a virus which causes respiratory illness ranging from mild to severe disease and even death, And some people, they can get infected and they don't show any symptoms also. And so remember, the point you have to remember here is the infected secretions, not all, okay? If a person has a coronavirus or COVID coronavirus 2, like inside the nasal secretions, they can able to spread it. Now, how and when do people get infected? This is a very important thing to learn, right? When a person get infected with SARS-CoV-2, coronavirus 2, the person who have symptoms can infect it. That's what I was telling you. Person who has symptoms can infect the others, right? And so what are the common symptoms? Fever, tiredness, cough, continuous dry cough, the nose, nasal congestions, when you have a running nose, or when you start developing a sore throat, when you have difficulty in breathing, and you have a shortness of breath. These are just the common symptoms. And one patient need not have all these symptoms, right? The symptoms differ from person to person. And there are also other symptoms like body pain and diarrhea, maybe in severe cases. So as I told you, the symptoms vary from person to person. Not all the COVID positive person will have all these symptoms. They may have one or two, all or none at all. Okay, so that is why we were telling about. They can actually, some of the infected persons have without symptoms. This is quite dangerous because if you're standing next to a positive COVID positive person, how do you know that they are positive? Because they have no symptoms at all. They can easily infect others. So this is actually can be two different types. Asymptomatic, as you all know, asymptomatic means no symptoms at all. Pre-symptomatic is they are infected, they are yet to develop the symptoms. Okay? So these two, both the cases are very dangerous. Unlike the infected person who have symptoms, at least they have symptoms, so we can avoid contacting them. Okay, next slide, please. So when do you get the medical attention, right? So we have to keep it in mind. Nearly 75 to 80%. I was just checking yesterday's report. 77% of the cases, the COVID cases, recovered from this naturally because of what? Immunity, or you have a very good immune system. So you don't have to worry about. Even I can say 80%. 80% of the individuals who get infected with the coronavirus, they can recover automatically or naturally. So you don't have to worry about. Don't panic or don't have any fear that once you get infected, you will have actually all symptoms. You have to go to the hospital and probably other things will happen. No, right? And so once you have your good immunity or a strong immune system, you can naturally recover from the COVID infection. But when do you get the medical attention? So that's also we have a border. When people report high fever, continuous cough and difficulty in breathing, and people who have health issues such as heart problems, cardiovascular diseases, diabetes or blood pressure or any other health issues like thyroid or any other arthritis, any other health issues, they have to go. And of course, the old age, these people are talking about above 65 or 70 years. So these people have to actually take this serious and they have to take a special treatment or go to the hospital at least. Next slide, please. So when do people die? And you can ask me a question, ma'am. You say this is just an ordinary cold virus. you have only the symptoms of cold and fever. So why do people die when they have cold? Okay, so the research evidences, all the report says there are three important reasons why people die. The first one is respiratory failure. The corona infects the respiratory tract, and if it is in the respiratory tract and you take all the medicines, the local folk medicines or home medicines, you can clear the respiratory tract. If you don't take enough, the precautions, it can go and infect your lungs. So that's where happens the respiratory failure. Then it leads into failure of multiple organs, kidney, liver, heart, everything. And then when they start having an irregular heartbeat, right? So these are the three main reasons why people die. And my advice is do not allow these three things to happen. You have to take care of them earlier. So when virus enter the respiratory tract, that's what I said, it goes and it affects the lungs and there is inflammation and it's going to fill the air sacs, alveoli with fluids, and you'll have difficulty in breathing. This is what causes the pneumonia, okay? So the pneumonia is a very dangerous disease because of the respiratory infections. That's what exactly happening in this coronavirus infection. People actually don't take enough precautions and it lead into pneumonia, which makes it fatal or they die. And so what happens exactly in the air sacs is there's a failure to store the oxygen. You know, the air sacs or the alveoli are called airbags. You must have studied in anatomy or physiology. So the airbags got infected with viruses. So there is a failure in storing the oxygen. So difficulty in breathing. So that is why when they go to the hospital, you are given a machine called ventilator. So the ventilator is an artificial respirator. It does the job of breathing. Okay. Next slide, please. So when you ask me a question, do really people die of COVID? Yes, I have the data in front of you, and you can see United States, the first country to have the higher number of infections. And of course, the people were telling that Indians are, immune to COVID. And now look, actually the India stands second next to the United States and of course the other countries. So actually people do die of COVID-19. Next slide, please. And this is a worldwide statistics. I think probably this is yesterday's, which I've been going through. The positive cases are 30 million, right? And the recovered is 21 million, and deaths, okay, you can see the number. Now, if you actually calculate the percentage, which I told you 77%, you can calculate the number of people who recovered from the positive cases. So don't panic, don't have any fear. Tell your parents, tell your grandparents, your relatives and friends, okay? So you can recover from COVID naturally. Now, what is the treatment? Is there any medicines, okay? Now, three important facts you should understand about the COVID. There are no prescribed medications in the Western medicine system. I think you all agree with me. No antibiotics can be given to COVID coronavirus disease because it's a viral disease. You must have studied that antibiotics works only for the bacterial infections, right? And of course, no vaccines. And as a vaccinologist or a vaccine trial scientist, I tell you very clearly at this point, like a take-home message, vaccines cannot be invented in a short time, okay? People are trying to, make vaccines as a rush vaccines. We don't know the efficacy. It has to be tested in animal for nearly 1.5 years. Then it has to undergo clinical trials. Then you have to make a mass production. You have to check the safety. You have to check the efficacy. So many things, right? The safety of the vaccines before you actually transmit, given to an animal as well as the human being. So definitely don't say that I'm actually discouraging. It might take, few more years or at least another 1 or 2 years to get the vaccines for COVID, right? And you should remember that it's a new virus. Nobody knows. People are trying to study the structure of the virus. So it is a novel disease or it's a new disease affecting the whole world. So people have no literature review, no data, no information about this coronavirus too. And the symptoms are known, as I explained, and which is quite confusing with the common fever or cold or any other respiratory illness. So people might miss the COVID positive or just a general cold, right? And so it's simply a cold virus. So we can treat the early symptoms very easily, just like the cold and flu, but with the precautions that you don't lead it into the secondary infections, namely the lung infections. Now, as I told you earlier, this is just repeating, 75 to 75% of infected persons recover naturally. Next slide, please. Now, what are the myths? People have lots of myths, and social media is spreading, all kinds of information. You drink hot water, goggle hot water, then there is no COVID. Many parts of India, I heard they are following this. That's not true. And then you eat green plants, vegetables, and fruits. Of course, it will give you strength. It will boost your immune system, but it's not going to clear the COVID infection. And vitamin C, all the citrus fruits. Drink orange juice, the lemon juice, it will cure the infection. No, that's again a myth. Only old people are affected by coronavirus. That's again a myth, because not only old people, right from the younger, the children to adults and teenagers and middle, all are affected by it. It is not actually age based. Now, eating garlic and ginger will prevent infection. It might prevent to a certain extent, but it will not clear the infection. But of course, it's good to eat the garlic and ginger. Now, some people say India is a tropical country. We have good summer, we have, good weather, hot weather and humid weather, and we don't get the COVID infection. No, that's not true. Even in cold countries like New Zealand, United States, and, Russia, right? They also have COVID infection. Now, taking a hot bath can prevent the virus from infecting. It's really a joke, isn't it? So taking a hot bath will not, right? Unless otherwise you wash your body or wash your hands, might take off all the dirt or some of the viruses which is attached as a fomite in your body. Now, eating meat can cause coronavirus. Some people have spread a myth that don't eat chicken or meat, and so the chicken shops, they started selling 50 rupees per kg. That's again a myth. There's nothing to do with the meat. And so even say that if you can't smell and taste the food, that means you're COVID positive. No, there is no any connection between the smell and the taste of the food with the corona infection. And if you don't have COVID, what they say is you hold the breath for 10 seconds without comfort. So that means no COVID. Okay, that's again a myth. Dogs can cause coronavirus. This is under speculation. I don't think so. Now, spraying alcohol, drinking alcohol, or you actually chlorine, you clean your body with the chlorine or sanitizer. No, it can only actually remove some of the infections, from your body, but it will not actually clear any infections. Okay. I hope there are so many myths which I don't want to put. You can Google and see there are another like probably 30 or 40 myths people are like thinking how the COVID infection can happen. Right. Now let's come to the point. Our topic is, does any traditional medicine work with COVID? I can say yes and no. Okay. So don't take it serious, because I'm going to give you explanation why yes and why no. Okay. And of course, World Health Organization has approved, if it is scientifically proven, the traditional medicines can be used. I think even in Tamil Nadu, there are many doctors, Siddha, Ayurveda, homeopathy doctors, they have, made some combinations of certain, traditional herbs and medicinal plants. And they allow the government for a clinical trial or for a use. But I think they have discouraged, or it has not been approved, because we don't know, because what clinical trials can do to people. Not everybody respond to these combinations in the same way. But interestingly, I tell you, this is a very interesting point. Chinese traditional medicine, and China, even before this coronavirus has started spreading, they have 28 traditional medicine guidelines for SARS coronavirus type 2, that is for COVID-19 disease. It's quite a surprise, or it's quite amazing to see how these people have already developed a guideline, that is especially 28 traditional medicine guidelines for the treatment of not any other disease, particularly for the COVID-19. This is quite amazing. Let's not go to the politics, because, we don't know how the China started spreading the coronavirus to other countries. It may become pandemic. Now, they have actually 6 effective traditional medicines. And in fact, WHO is looking into this. They are also doing some scientific experiments to prove whether these 6 actually traditional medicines can be effectively used, okay, for the treatment of, they haven't started. Now, what is exactly, I was doing some homework and started to read, what are these 6 traditional medicines is nothing but, I'll tell you, herbal tea and turmeric milk. So where do you get all this turmeric and tea? This is actually from India, So these people have actually plagiarized our data and information. So what this actually traditional medicine is combination of so many medicine and herbal plants which make it herbal tea and turmeric milk. Now, Keeping all these things, even South Africa, yesterday I read that they have found out some traditional medicine which have sent it to WHO for scientific evidences so that they can start using. So this is a huge awareness for traditional medicine in India right now. Can you move to the next slide, please? So this is a very great opportunity, for developing or focusing on traditional medicines for the future of India. And as you all know, for dengue fever, which is quite an epidemic 2-3 years ago, Nilavembu Kudineer. Nilavembu is nothing but the vapilla, isn't it? Like a vembu. So they made actually an extract or juice of this neem, and it has actually reduced the symptoms of dengue fever. That's not clear, but of course it reduced the symptoms, and it allowed, and also papaya leaf juice. When you take actually at the onset of fever for dengue fever, which is spread by mosquitoes, so there is actually reduction of platelets. But when you start taking papaya leaf juice, it will shoot up the platelets. It's a magic, okay? So because I can authentically say I have published papers and I have been working on the use of papaya leaf juice or the extract for the treatment of dengue fever. It clearly shows that the platelets which goes down can accelerate and increases once you consume the papaya leaf juice. And again, lots of contradiction, how much papaya leaf juice you should take, whether it's in the liquid form or it's in the powder form, or do you have to combine with other tea, or, like so many things. So people are still, under investigation how papaya leaf, Nilavembu Kudineer can be used for the effective treatment of dengue fever. Now, when coming to the COVID-19, I think Ayush, the Department of Herbal, Central Research Institute for Homeopathy, they have also have done lots and lots of work for the past 6 months, and they have introduced something called herbal tea. This is nothing but a combination of tulasi, dry ginger, basil, that is pachilai, cinnamon, that is pattai, what we use it for the cooking, black pepper, right? Then raisins, the dry grapes. So these are all the combinations. Of course, there may be other formulas which they may not reveal it to us. So these traditional spices are recommended for herbal tea. I tell you, that's why I underline, this is not going to clear the infection or recover from the disease. It will only boost your immunity, right? And forget about all this, which we have been inventing in the recent times. Talk about rasam, that which is our grandma's recipe, right? For the good old days. I don't know for how many years, maybe more than 1,000 or 2,000 years, especially the Tamils or South Indians. We have this actually rasam as a digestive soup after every food. That actually, I don't know how many of you remember, like when you have fever or cold, what does your mother give? Rasam and white rice, isn't it? So it just vanishes, it disappears. We don't go to the hospital. I don't remember going to a doctor when I was a young kid just for fever and cold. My grandmother or my mother treats me with the rasam. So what does rasam has? All the traditional medicines, right? Like black pepper, the jeera, isn't it? Tomatoes, and tamarind, turmeric, okay? All the traditional spices, right? So, and apart from that, it has got lots and lots of medical applications. And ginger and lemon are also immune boosting roots and fruits. And now recently people are talking about and drinking, they're even selling, I heard, the Kabasura Kudineer. And this is again very effective in managing the respiratory infections such as flu and cold, but it will not clear the infections. Okay, this is again a herbal mixture of dry ginger, clove, ajwain, kadukai, muli, and sirukankori roots. These are all available in the medicinal, Ayurvedic shops. You can try. But they made a formula which I don't think anybody will tell. So these traditional medicines are there, and it's a very great opportunity for us to invent or study and do research more on these traditional medicines, how we can take care of the COVID infection. Next slide, please. Okay, now let's go to the facts and myths for using traditional medicines. The fact, as I told you, nearly even now, I'm talking about worldwide, 70% of the world population still depends and follows on traditional medicines. If you go to Indonesia, if you go to Malaysia, Thailand, even a lot of African countries, even in the United States, I lived there for many years, people still follow some of the traditional medicine. Nobody has even forgotten. So probably only the 30%. So we have to increase the number of people who have, the clear idea or try to follow the traditional medicine. And why the traditional medicines? Because it has rich resources of healing ingredients and compounds, right? All the bioactive compounds are very rich in this traditional medicine. And of course, it has potential antiviral properties. And you know that chicken pox and smallpox, so what they do, right? Nilavembu. The Vembu, or that's what they do, like no medicines for smallpox and chicken pox. Because they'll give you bath with the hot water, they put all this neem leaves, isn't it? Do you remember? So this is what actually they all have antiviral properties. So who is going to find out what are the antiviral properties? There are hundreds and hundreds of traditional medicines which we can use. Now, as I again tell you, reduces the symptoms like fever and cold, and it will all protect you from the secondary lethal infection to certain extent. If you don't take care with your traditional medicines, then probably it leads into a very dangerous state. Maybe it is fatal. And so prevent infection and strengthens the general immunity. So that is the main use of traditional medicines. And I can say that it might reduce the viral load. I have no scientific evidences to say because I worked in HIV. We also tried some traditional medicines where you can see the reduction of the viral load. As you know that how do people actually see the HIV patients? The CD4, isn't it? One of the T cells. Now people start taking certain traditional medicines, and actually we have seen in the flow cytometry the viral load has come down. The number of CD4 has come down. So there should be some effect of the traditional medicines in controlling or the number of the viruses. So it has got definitely certainly antiviral properties, right? So traditional medicine will not boost your immunity towards the coronavirus, and it will not cure from the disease, but to a certain extent it will give you immunity so you can be protected, and it will give you prevention from the disease. Now, what is the myth people think? When you take traditional medicine, it's going to kill the coronavirus. No, it will give you a complete cure and you will have a speedy recovery, which is not at all true. And it will reduce the viral load and eliminate it from the system. It cannot happen. It can reduce the viral load to a certain extent. Or daily and exercise use of, like traditional medicine will prevent from further infection. That is also a myth. Drinking cow's urine, the northern part, and people are trying to do, maybe it is attached to some religious, practices. Let's not go into the practice. Now, people even say there is no need of vaccines. We have traditional medicine. That's what Ayurvedic, Siddha, homeopathy doctors are trying to insist. No need for vaccines for COVID. All these actual homeopathy traditional medicines can cure no, that's not true, right? Next slide, please. So to summarize, as you all know, social media has given enormous information about COVID-19. So many informations, good information, bad information, fact and myth. Okay, it all depends on how you take it. I won't be able to explain in 30 minutes, isn't it all? And we need to, discuss further and on. And so this, social media especially created a very huge fear among the public, made everyone paranoid about the COVID, right? And of course, the government has taken over not only in India, from other countries, lockdown, complete lockdown for the past 6 or 7 months. So it has prevented, so that the transmission is prevented and saved the infections and also the number of deaths in the country. Now, coronavirus is, again, it's just a simple cold virus, a bit complicated. So when you take actually the coronavirus infection in the early stage, it will not lead into the secondary complicated infection. Of course, there are no medications, but medical professionals have learned how to deal with the COVID-19 patients. In earlier, people are even the doctors, they don't know how to treat the COVID-19 patients. Now, I think they've been trained, they learned all the methods, all the protocols, how to deal with the COVID-19 patients. Now, the medical professionals or some of the hospitals has also taken a huge advantage that once you go, even they say that even if you are negative, people claim that you are positive, and then they give you treatment, they take all your money. So be careful and to learn about what actually symptoms, which symptoms we can reduce or take care of the home remedy with the traditional medicines. Now, the 75 to 75% infected cases can be recovered completely, and it can actually reduce the symptoms both by Western medicine as well as if you have a fever, take Panadol or a paracetamol, right? Now, new cases are getting reduced. That's a good news. Number of deaths are also slowing down. So this is a very good news. This is mainly because of certain lockdown, the methodology or social distancing, wearing masks. So self-awareness and knowledge of using face mask, hand wash, sanitizer also has increased. Then it may be one of the reasons why there is number of the cases have gone down, especially in India. Next slide, please. Okay, so the take-home message, I'm going to end my presentation. So talk to your parents, talk to your grandparents, பாட்டி தாத்தா அம்மா அத்தை எல்லார்கிட்டையும் பேசுங்க. So learn one traditional medicine, a plant or a herb, okay, from them. Like, even if it is a very simple, whatever we are using at home, learn about that medicinal healing values. Go and ask your mother, what does the black pepper do? What does the ginger do? What does this jeera do? We just use it every day, in our cooking. We don't even bother the value of the medicinal value of all these spices. We use it at home. These are traditional. This can be a traditional medicine. So my request is, you learn one, traditional plant or a herb from your parents, or you do your research, hashtag, and pass it on to your friends and families through social media, right? Instead of putting your selfies, this is going to be a very, very positive information. You can talk about or promote the traditional medicine in social media. So promote the traditional medicines as a proud Indian. And, of course, Tamils are the first people, they say that, we have lots and lots of information from our grandparents or from the literature. So try to promote the traditional medicines. Stop depending on allopathic or Western medicines. So not only for this, these traditional medicines are not only going to help COVID-19, but also other health issues, right? And so let's go back to nature for a happy and healthy life. So start your undergraduate or postgraduate projects on traditional medicines, right? And this is a request for all the staff members too, right? So start your research projects. You have, millions of informations, and you have, huge resources in and around Madurai. And so start and look for certain interesting research projects on traditional medicines. So I wish you all the very best for the rest of 20 and the next year. So I hope and that you will do a excellent work. And I think let the zoology department continues to shine with all your research and your academic work. Okay, next slide, please. So let us make India zero COVID-19 country. Do you all promise? Right? So when we do good research, let us make India a zero COVID-19 country. That is what we are looking for, isn't it? We don't have to wear a mask. We don't have to, restrict meeting our friends. Look at the colleges are closed, universities are closed, schools are closed. Look at the discomforts we are facing, So let us actually be part of the, the research or part of the community to make the country zero COVID-19. Okay. So let's feel happy. And so till we become the COVID-free country, please follow the 11th commandment. Thou shalt not COVID thy neighbor's life. Wear your mask. So there are three important, the one is wear your mask. As I told you, wear proper face mask, and actually the hand sanitizer, wash your hands, like every half an hour, especially when you go out and come inside the house. And the third one is social distancing. I think we have been keeping this social distancing for the past 6 months. And now because of so many economical reasons and so the government has opened the borders. Now I think the social distance is becoming, nearer. I still congratulate the zoology department for keeping this, the inaugural meeting as a maintaining our social distance, so we can all be benefited. Okay, right. So thank you so much. Next slide. So thank you so much. So stay home. So stay safe, and thank you for listening. Right, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Ma'am, this is from Sujata. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. Such a very nice information about COVID-19. Actually, I want to discuss about two questions, ma'am. The first one is everyone started talking about the virulence, the nature of the strain virulence going down now. So I want to have an idea about that one. And the other information is one scientist, women scientist from China, now she stayed in US, talking about this particular strain has created in Chinese lab. Is it true, ma'am?
I will not say it is true or not true, because I don't know. Whatever I have been reading, and also as a viral scientist, when you, I can answer both the questions, like I'll answer both the questions. The virulence, when you talk about virulence, see the if it is lab created, okay, virus, and this is what you expect because people started dying. None of the viruses which has appeared, existed before, has not killed, say for example, even the MERS or the SARS virus. It has not killed this much people, you know.
Yes.
So we
Yes.
are actually wondering whether the virulent virus has been purposefully or like it has been sent to certain countries in a political way, especially to America. And if you see America, only the New York is affected. There are so many number of deaths in New York alone. This is just to make a confusion with the economy, right? The global, the marketing, financial market. That's what they did. They achieved. The Chinese have achieved because all the global financial market has come down. And even when United States have a lot of financial resources in China that has been sold, now all the Chinese have bought the business. That is the idea of the Chinese. So this is actually, these are all my personal opinion from what I have read. So when it comes to India, so because it has not come to India till March, I think, maybe very few cases. But so people are wondering whether the virulence, the virus which has got a higher virulence must have gone to other countries. Probably the virulence, the capacity must have come down when it reaches India. Okay. I don't have any clear, like answer to you. Maybe the virulence or the virulence capacity must have gone down when it comes to India, right? And nobody knows. And also there are also other evidences that it is not lab made, because the SARS-CoV-1 has got the possibility of mutation, even I say that there's a possibility of mutation at any time. Nobody knows when mutation happens, how happens, it will take another 1 or 2 years for the scientists to study how the mutations happens, so probably the SARS-CoV-1 must have mutated and it has been released into the environment. But the releasing of this particular SARS-CoV-2 killing so many people, it's still a mystery. Nobody knows even the origin of the SARS-CoV-2. So have I answered your question?
Yes, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Good evening, ma'am. Thank you for your informative session. Like I have a doubt. You told about sanitizers and other things, right? So previous few months back, we don't have advertisements of knives or any other soap which prevents COVID-19. But nowadays we see all advertisement which prevents COVID-19 99.9%. Is it true?
No. That is a advertisement, strategy. So somebody should stop that. Even I have seen that TV. It's not true. So it's not true. The soap cannot remove. It can remove to a certain extent. So the soap advertisement, all these any other sanitizer advertisements are all commercial. When a simple hand washer can remove all the COVID, there is no respiratory disease, there is no death, people won't fall in illness, So that's what you have to think about that. Any other questions?
Ma'am, I'm having one doubt, ma'am.
Yes, please.
Ma'am, actually, your session was really informative, ma'am. We got a lot of information about COVID-19, ma'am.
Thank you.
That, first of all, ma'am. Ma'am, first lockdown we had, no, ma'am. At that time, people were really, government was really strict and people were just staying in home. And the spread of COVID not that much, ma'am, effective. But now these days, people have just relaxed and they're just moving out from their home and they're just too public, ma'am. And we are also getting information that phase 2 of COVID-19, we are going to get a wave of phase 2 COVID-19 is going to come. So be safe also, they are saying, ma'am. How can we control
that? The phase 2, the phase 2 infection or the number of cases going to be, it's kind of only a prediction. We don't know, It's kind of prediction. It is also, it's not only a prediction because the lockdown strategy has been relaxed now, even what is it, EPA? going from one state or one region zone to another zone or to another state is also being waived, you know. So
Yes, ma'am.
naturally, as you all agree that humans are social animals, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Now
Yes, ma'am.
imagine you must be getting bored not going to college. Going to
Yes,
college
ma'am.
is like a social activity, isn't it? Me, I
Yes.
have not seen my friends for the past 6 months. How long you can keep on talking over the phone? So we are social animals. We need to talk. We should have a face-to-face, you know, appearance. You know, all of this missing. And also, of course, people are losing jobs. You know, economy is gone down tremendously, and so especially the daily workers, you know, and they have been
Yes,
suffering.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So the government has actually made a decision, maybe political. This is actually political, you know. So they have actually opened the borders, and so naturally, social distancing has been broken, and so people are meeting. People are actually, you know, like gathering in a crowded place. I heard even in Chennai, they're starting all the shopping malls, even small theaters, the markets, restaurants. So what do you expect, you know, after listening to the mode of transmission, you know, the droplets or the aerosols? So naturally, there will be more infection and more cases. So by October, November, you might expect an exponential increase of the COVID positive. You know, that's the reason. We can't say it is political. We cannot say, unless otherwise every individual has their own, you know, self awareness that this is what I do not want to go out. Either, of course, you are not COVID-19 positive, you are not going, but you will pick up the infections when you go to a crowded place, you know. So social distancing, maintain the social distancing, stay home, stay safe is very, very important, you know. So if every person think, okay, I'm going to follow this, you know, and so probably we can cut down the numbers. Now imagine, okay, I don't care. Let me go to a theater. Let me go picnic with all my friends. Let me go to the restaurants. Naturally, what do you expect? The transmission will, you know, exacerbate, and you will get more number of cases, you know.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I can understand, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Lakshmi ma'am, thank you for your
Yes.
interesting lecture, ma'am. We all were, your lecture was very useful. Ma'am, I have one question, ma'am. That is,
Yes.
chloroquine and azithromycin have excellent options in treating COVID-19. Well, what is
Yeah.
its role, ma'am? Actually, it is used for treating malaria. Am I correct, ma'am?
Malaria. Hypochloroquine is actually anti-malarial drug, you know,
But they have reported
and
having good effects on the patients. I don't know what is it.
not good effects, you know, like it can actually reduce the symptoms. You know, malaria also you get fever, na? See, malaria is what are the symptoms of malaria?
Fever.
Chillness, you know, fever. So it might reduce the symptoms of the COVID-19, but it cannot clear the infection of COVID-19 at all, you know.
Okay.
So that is what, you know, when Trump, you know, the American president, when he learned that hypochloroquine, and he borrowed tons and tons of hypochloroquine from India. But of course, in India, I think it's not a huge use of hypochloroquine, you know. And azito, what is the next drug you said?
Azithromycin.
Azithromycin is an antibiotic, no? Or it's a...
Ma'am.
Yeah, so I think now it is just to, you know, like cut down the symptoms of COVID-19. That's all, you know. Like I said, if you have high fever, what do? Naturally, you take paracetamol, and if it's not working, then they go for a second regimen, hypochloroquine, another antibiotic, you know. Yes. And people who have a low immunity, you know, I think I didn't touch too much about the immunological factors. It will take time. Especially, there are some people, you know, who have actually low immunity. Even within a family, father might have a strong immunity, but not the mother. Sister might be very strong, but not the brother. You know what I mean? So even within the house, within the same environment, we expect actually the ranges of the immunity from people to people. So that is why we really insist, go for actually home medicines, learn about traditional medicines. At least you boost your immune system and then strengthen the immune system. Be strong so you don't get any infections. Okay, when you move in the environment. Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am, how does herd immunity influence this COVID-19, ma'am?
Anama, tell me again.
Herd immunity.
Herd immunity. Yeah, that's a very good question. Is it Rani?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Herd is, grouping, herd community. Now, there is, as I told you, no prescribed drugs, no vaccines, right? So, no, like we have no treatment for proper treatment, no specific treatment for COVID-19. So what actually people, this is one of the immunological theories where when people get exposed to each other, so what do? You develop immunity, right? So people have, this is only a trial, Now you can say, ma'am, you're telling that don't go to theater, don't go to restaurants, that's another contradictory. But how do you develop a herd immunity, So there should be some limitations in grouping, or some actually, there is restrictions, when you form groups, So definitely herd immunity, we haven't started, but actually there should be a separate study to see how this herd immunity like helps the COVID infection. We are not very sure. But actually herd immunity, I recommend as an immunologist. But imagine there is a crowd, say 100 people. Say imagine if the same what the inaugural address is happening at the department, right? 150 people gather. Just imagine 2 people are COVID positive. What will happen? Just I'm giving a scenario to think, and those 2 people can infect another 2, and those 4 can go back and infect another 4, 8, or at the same time, they can also develop the immunity towards the COVID-19. But you can actually develop an immunity for COVID-19 to a certain extent. Herd immunity will not give you complete protection from COVID-19.
Thank you, ma'am.
You got the point, Rani?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
They say in immunological theory, more you expose, the more you develop immunity. Right. But actually, we have to be very careful because it's a very highly dangerous infectious disease. We cannot take things into granted. We can't go in crowds and want to develop the immunity. There should be some restrictions and limitations in developing the herd immunity.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Rani.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am, I'm Iron from 3rd UG, ma'am.
Yes,
So, like,
yes,
my father is a COVID-19 survivor. So, doctors have prescribed him blood thinners, a tablet called D-Plat 75 for 4 months. So, is it okay to take these blood thinners, ma'am?
Okay, what is the reason for prescribing the blood thinners to your dad? Does he have any other health issues?
No, ma'am. Actually, my cousin brother, he was also tested positive for COVID-19 and he also recovered. For both my father and my cousin, the doctors have prescribed COVID-19, but they are not having any issues like stroke or heart attack or blood pressure. But I don't know what is the reason behind it for prescribing these tablets, ma'am.
Okay, what is the actual blood report says? Do they have any abnormality in the full blood count or anything like that?
No,
if there is too many, the cells or too many platelets, they usually go for this blood thinners. Or people who have asthma, or people who already have, like strokes, or some of the psychological disorders like, schizophrenia or Alzheimer's or dementia, so they usually prescribe this, blood thinners. I exactly don't know the reason. Why did they say that? Did the doctors explain why they have to take the blood thinners?
Ma'am, they told like few patients who recovered from this COVID-19 infection, they came up with other cases like cardiac arrest. So to avoid this in the future, they are giving blood thinners now itself. So does COVID-19 develop blood clots, ma'am?
Not exactly to all. That's not one of the things. Maybe in a later stage. When I told you irregular heartbeat, especially to the heart patients. See, this is exactly the problem with the medical treatment. Like to all of you, I'm telling, this is one of the reasons. See, this particular regimen, she's talking about blood thinner, should be given to certain patients who has got cardiovascular issues or heart, like a arrhythmic heart or some blood abnormalities. Now, since it has worked with some patients, just imagine the doctors are prescribing to the other patients where they don't have the symptoms are the other patients. So this is quite unsafe, to me, This is what exactly happened to even when we prescribe the HIV patients, there are 4 regimens. For example, the CD4 count, if it is 500, you give this type of medicine. If it is CD4 300, you give this regimen too. People just mix these regimens, and exactly like the student is explaining. So these regimens have to be carefully prescribed for specific health issues to a particular patient. Now, since I don't actually, I agree or don't agree, even the doctors have no choice. They're trying, different trials. If it is working with one patient, why not with the other patient? So they're just trying it out. If as long as, if God blesses everybody and it doesn't lead into any other, medical issues, as long as it doesn't cause any side effects, it's okay, but there is no particular reason why they are giving blood thinners.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Ma'am, can I ask one question? Some of our students are very much interested in taking up research on traditional medicines, probably plant-based products and their research. Can you give them some tips, ma'am, how to go about? And does animal studies are really needed, or cell line studies are enough? So some preliminary tips on how to choose this kind of a traditional medicine research.
Yes. Yeah, that's what in fact, I forgot to mention. Traditional medicines, the trend of talking about traditional medicine, use of traditional medicine is becoming a new trend. Of course, it is very beneficial. And as, like Tamil Nadu, we have millions of, medicinal resources, so why not do research, right? And so you can tell Dr. Priya and other, staff, we can organize a 2-day workshop on the use and benefits of traditional medicines, And do you have a HPLC in the department?
Not in the zoology, we have a common instrumentation.
Okay, that's enough. Even more spectrophotometry. You can actually take, so many traditional medicines, say like, what is that, Karpooravalli, that Omam, adjuvant. So take that, make some, juice extracts, and try to study the concentration of the bioactive compounds and see how it can actually reduce the infection. So you don't have to study about COVID. You can take, I think we have viral labs at the medical college. You can actually get some, the viral streaks, the virus, and the stock, and you can try even a small little simple microbiology test can see whether the traditional medicines can work or not. There are so many ways, HPLC and other microbiological tests, and so create some interest among students. And if you are interested, we can have any funding. We can organize a 2 days workshop and talk about the various, the traditional medicines available in and around Madurai, in Tamil Nadu, where we can do, like a lot of research. This is definitely the study of traditional medicines and use and benefits can bridge the health issues in future. Because even now I can see lots and lots of people are going back to the traditional medicines.
Yeah.
I even advise all my friends and relatives to go for traditional medicines, because they all know that allopathic medicine or Western medicines have definitely side effects. If you get a tablet or a tonic, you see all the leaflets, they give you hundreds of side effects, Whereas, of course, I don't say there are no side effects for traditional medicine. There is very few, very limited, side effects. So I'll be happy that, if you can encourage your students to do some commonly available traditional medicines, right? And you can have a garden, traditional medicine garden, because I also run a organization, NGO, where we have actually developing a garden of herbs. Maybe once you all, the resume, you can visit our garden. So we have lots of traditional medicines we are trying to, like grow and promote. We don't want any benefits. We're just promoting the traditional medicines. And even actually the traditional medicine knowledge is quite complicated. And, like people don't even share. I have a gardener who can know about nearly 50 varieties of traditional medicine which is available in the Nagamala Hills. It's so amazing to sit and talk to him. And I even take notes. What is this plant useful for? Which I don't know, you know. So I'm writing a manual for around 100 traditional medicines, which is available in and around Nagamalai or in Madurai, you know. So those books can be helpful for, you know, the future students or the, you know, the younger students to, you know, focus on the research on traditional medicines, you know. But you have to give them a clear guidance what to do, how to do, and all. You know, we'll talk about it later.
Yes.
Thank you, Priscilla.
Ma'am, myself, I'm having a doubt, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, like a patient of COVID-19 who is a positive patient for a few days before, ma'am.
Yeah.
After few days, they are recovered and they are in their normal state, ma'am. But people used to say, like, they have not cured it. How do you know that they have totally cured from that disease? So please don't go near them. Still, we don't know how much they are having or not. Like they are saying, no, ma'am. Like really, they are totally cured from COVID-19, ma'am. Like the patients who are coming out from hospital.
Yes, actually, they do the testing and it shows negative. Unless otherwise, I don't think they're allowed outside to come outside the hospital. That's what I think. I don't know what is exactly happening at the hospitals, you know. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Once
Here
they
in my
take
house,
the
there
COVID.
was a person who is in hospital, ma'am. She's working in a hospital. Their
Yeah.
family is affected by COVID-19 because she's a doctor and she was seeing corona patients, ma'am. So her family
Okay.
totally they got like COVID-19 near my house
Okay.
itself. So
Yeah.
poster was stuck before the house saying that you should like these much persons are having, so don't go
COVID.
near like that and all. They have pasted, ma'am.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
after a few days,
That is
they
true.
itself
Yeah.
came out, ma'am. They itself came out and they were just socializing each other, ma'am, coming outside and going somewhere, ma'am. So I used to talk to them. My mother said, please don't go near them because we don't know still as they totally cured or not. Even though they are doctors, but we can't say anything. She said like that, ma'am. So only I was having a doubt if they're totally cured or just for
Yeah,
name
this is
sake
just
they're
a
doing something.
precaution. You know, like what's your name, Shalini? This is
Yes,
just a
ma'am. Myself,
precaution, you know, because like when you say you're not sure whether they're positive, negative, so why do you go near them? You know,
Yes,
because
ma'am.
when you talk to them or when you touch them, they might transmit the virus. You know,
Yes,
but
ma'am.
as per the protocol, the hospital, you know, the protocol, they are not supposed to stay at home if they are COVID positive, isn't it?
Yes.
Immediately they have to be isolated and hospitalized, where they will be quarantined for 14 days. And I think 14 days they give them good food actually, and which actually boosts their immunity and good strength. And I think by 14 days it has to be negative, need not be, but they have to stay in the hospital or in isolation unless the test becomes positive. Then only they're allowed to go. You know,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not
No,
sure
ma'am,
what's
they were
up.
under the care of this hospitals for 28 days, ma'am. That
Okay.
in poster itself they are stuck that, ma'am. After that only went to meet them, ma'am. So my mother was
Oh,
very
okay.
uncomfortable with that and she said like this. So only I was just asking that question to ma'am.
Yeah, just a precaution, you know, like because but you can't go and ask them whether they're negative or not. You can
No,
ask them
ma'am, I can't
because
ask you.
this is actually a social stigma, you know.
Yes, ma'am.
But if they are negative, there is no harm in socializing with them. But we don't know whether they're positive or. So I hopefully, since they are belong to the doctor's family, the doctor must have taken care of them. See to that they are negative. You know.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am, this is Fatima of First UG, ma'am. Ma'am,
Hello, Fatima.
They say that this virus is going to be permanently with us, ma'am. Is that true, or at a stage it will completely get destroyed like that? Or is, they say
No. That's not true. When you say permanently with us, you mean in the country? You mean in the country or in the world? Yeah, because see, this is simple logic. There is a virus, there is an outbreak of virus. Okay, you all agree. Outbreak of virus. Whether it comes from the lab or it is mutated or people purposefully, the Chinese put it into other countries, let's not worry about that. It's already spreading, and the mode of transmission is like, you know, breathing, you know. And so as long, you know, when there is socializing, as long the virus is there, we will have the disease. But nobody can give a clear cut date or time when it is going to come to zero or when it is going to completely disappear. Do you understand? Nobody can say.
To an end, like it will come to an end, like at a stage.
Yeah, of course, that's what we are all looking forward for, the virus to completely eliminate, completely eliminate
Yes,
from the
ma'am.
system. But so who has to cope? Who's part of it? It's all you and me, and the COVID-19, like the previous student was asking, the whole family had COVID positive, but they were socializing. Irresponsibility, and so this is why we should maintain the social distancing. And of course, as per the readings and the informations and gathering, it might be there for another at least 1 year.
Okay,
So we have to be in lockdown, and we have to follow all the preventive methods.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, another question, ma'am.
Yes.
If a person has like they have COVID-19 positive, they have treated positive, and they are out of that state, like they've tested negative, and again can they be tested positive? Like
Yes,
we have a
some of them it can relapse, because the test again is technological error. The positive, even so many shows false positive, false negative. By the time they take all the medications, took rest and paracetamol, cleared, no fever, no cough, no everything is fine. It comes out, and then that after testing negative, it may be a false test. It may be false negative. So when you come home, the little bit of virus, when it is in the body, it can start multiply, and he'll start again the symptoms. That's called relapsing. Yeah, it might happen in some cases. Yes, true.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am, for enlightening us. And it was really an enriching and educative session. Thanks a lot, ma'am. We actually learned a lot about the myths about COVID-19, which we actually thought were true, which we actually thought were facts. So thank you, ma'am, for encouraging us to be strong both physically and mentally. We learned how like traditional medicines play a vital role in this pandemic. So we thanks a lot, ma'am, and also I thank all the participants for your cooperation and active participants.